Good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice that price rallied in the previous session up to about 38.75s and failed to hold above that zone before falling late in the day back below the current session's midpoint and starting to look a bit like another lower high developing. You remember we have this kind of rounded behavior happening off the right side here. Ever since the strong high here, we've had a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And is this going to be another lower high? So right now, 38.75 is going to be the most important spot to watch here today. If there's a failure to get above that zone, or if price starts to fail back below 38.50, that could begin to trigger a bit more selling pressure back toward yesterday's low of basically 3800, and perhaps even start to trigger a bit more selling pressure, which could extend itself to another new low below the 37.20 half low. So right now, again, the market remains within an uptrending kind of trend here, but again, we need to get through that 38.75 in order to open up the upside and get into 39.75 and perhaps higher. Right now we have a nice little intraday key range that developed here. That 38.42 going to be very important. The bottom level here, 37.20, is going to be important. So again, if you fail at the top end of the key range, there's a tendency to rotate back to the middle of that key range. That would be about the 38.80s. So again, keeping an eye on 38.75. Any failure to get above that zone today could back things off a bit and begin to develop another series of lower highs here. If we take a look at the NQ, you'll notice with the NQ, this one has been even more bearish than the rest here. In the previous session, a failed new high and then a very deep sell-off here below the previous session's midpoint and closing near the lows of the recent downtrend. This trend very much in play. We even talked about the developing bearish PEMA trigger zone here, and if price were to push into that zone, we could be looking at overhead resistance up ahead. So we knew that there was overhead resistance up above. Price didn't even get that high before it sold off here. We are now seeing a bounce back morning here heading into the RTH open. But again, the level to watch is going to be 12.8. Can price get through 12.8? Can it even get back above the previous month's low price? Because any failure to get back above that zone could open up another round of selling pressure today, where price then again rallies, or rather drops back to the day's midpoint and perhaps closes back below it. Overall, this market remains heavy. There's leadership stocks like Apple, for example, which haven't really seen much in the way of strength, and if those aren't going to go up, then it's going to be very difficult for the tech heavy NQ to go up as well. And any failure again to get above 12.8 here in the near term could lead to another round of weakness, where we could lead to a return back to the rising 200 period average, which comes into play right around 11.750. So again, watching to see how this plays out. But right now, any bounce could be met with selling pressure, especially with the overhead PEMA, bearish PEMA trigger zone. If we take a look at crude oil, we've been looking for a significant rejection in crude oil once we got through 65, 66. Yesterday we got as high as 67.98, and look at the significant rejection we saw yesterday. A tremendous sell-off from those highs, a close beyond and below the previous midpoint from Friday's range. And after you see a significant rejection like that, that two-day rejection, it's indicative of further weakness to come. So yesterday in the trading room, especially in the afternoon session and also in our master's training later on that evening, we were looking for any return to 66 for a selling opportunity. Not only could we see selling pressure at 66, which we already have, but we could see a pullback into the 63s. I believe 63.18 or thereabouts is the midpoint of the recent impulse rally. So any pullback into that zone would give us a new key range at these highs. And again, if there's any failure to hold that bullish PEMA trigger zone, we may actually return back to the key range low here of 59.24. So right now, 66 is holding as resistance. We could see further weakness towards 63s up ahead. Looking at gold now, gold is actually up 2% right now. This one's up 2% at the moment. It is testing previous highs here. We still have a very mature downward trending bearish PEMA trigger zone, and also price is still below the breakdown point here of 1760. We got very close to getting to our 1660 target, which was the next target down below. It got as low as 1673s. If you look at the actual chart here, we ran right into support, and we are seeing a bounce right off that support level. So right here, this was the next level of support down. Price got right into that area and is bounced right now. But again, with a very mature downtrending market, with a mature bearish PEMA trigger zone, any bounce here could still be met with selling pressure that leads to the next breakdown, and we could be looking at a move through 1660 and into the 1575s down below. So again, any bounce here in gold could be met with additional selling pressure up ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.